Elm Street at dawn smelled of coal smoke and damp cobbles. I had seen worse, but the stillness told me this was no accident. The body lay at the base of a lamppost, one shoe torn, face chalk white beneath soot and lamp glow. The church bell tolled far off. I knelt and smelled the air properly. Coal, oil, and the faint metallic tang of blood. Every town has its signatures. This one smelled of industry. I checked the clothing for possessions. A scrap of lace, a brass button stamped with a factory mark, and a folded note with half a name smudged by rain. Neighbors gathered behind cautioning ropes, faces pale in oil lamplight. Someone muttered the victim's name. We had the name, but nothing else, at least not yet. As I pocketed the brass button, a wet footprint led toward the canal, vanishing into mist. I followed it, feeling the first tug of something darker than chance. The canal bank smelled of algae and coal tar. I questioned neighbors whose shutters rattled like dry teeth. Everyone claimed ignorance, but eyes rarely lie. Mrs. Grafton remembered a carriage late the night before, wheels clattering over cobbles and a muffled quarrel. She smelled of starch and lemon oil. At the factory gate, I found a foreman who hid his hands in coal-stained sleeves. He acknowledged the button as theirs, but denied knowledge of any quarrel. We found a burnt scrap behind the mill where lamp oil pooled. Blackened handwriting suggested payment and shame. Someone had tried to erase evidence by fire. A boy selling fish at dawn remembered a face by the canal, a man limping with a leather glove filled with ash. He wiped his hands and looked away. Ash and a limp narrowed our field. A train whistle in the distance suggested a departure. The footprints I followed stopped at the river steps. Someone had a head start. I spent the night on the quay, seated under an oil lamp, listening to barges breathe. Low music in my head kept time with the drip of water. At 2, a figure crept along the shadow line between warehouses. He moved with a limp and kept to oil lamp shadows. I followed, silent as fog. The chase ended at a locked boathouse. A single pane of glass had been smashed from the inside. On the sill lay a small silver locket, warm to the touch. Inside the locket, a painted portrait of a woman smiled faintly. The back bore initials that matched the half-name from the note. The case widened into a story of secrets. When I returned to the quay, the air smelled sharper, like burnt oil. Fresh footprints crossed the planks toward the river, then stopped as if the walker stepped into water. A bargeman later told me he had seen a coat tossed overboard. Whoever wore it wanted to vanish, but cloth does not hide a story. The locket had changed everything. The locket led me to a boarding house on Elm. Inside, the air reeked of starch and cheap perfume. A ledger lay open with entries scrubbed by inferior ink. The ledger hinted at payments labeled only by initials. One entry listed a sum beside the same initials as the locket. Someone had been buying silence. A neighbor confessed to hearing shouted names the night before. 2 voices arguing, one pleading for discretion, another promising payment. The city clock dared me with its strokes. I traced the initials to a name on the town council's ledger. A prosperous mill owner, respected at church, with fingers in ledgers and in other people's lives. Confronting him in his parlor, I watched polite denial harden into anger. He spoke of business and honor, but his cuff bore ash and a faint scent of oil lamp smoke. Before the words could settle, a constable arrived with news, a train ticket in our victim's name, recently purchased. The mill owner went pale. The trail had a new destination. I boarded the morning train and watched the town shrink into a grey ribbon. The ticket traced a path to a neighboring village where reputations were thin and tempers short. There I found the woman from the painted locket alive and frightened, hiding in a servant's garret. Her story was blunt, love shamed, promises broken, and a debt that frightened men. She named a man who had offered money and then threatened exposure. She had refused and had argued with the victim that night. Her voice quavered, but her memory was clear. Back on Elm, I set a quiet trap and waited for night to bring movement. The mill owner's footsteps were predictably measured, his cigar ember a small betrayal in the dark. I confronted him at the lamp. His voice was even at first, then it cracked. Under pressure, he confessed to paying for silence and, in a moment of fury, a struggle had become murder. He led us to the carriage yard where a hidden bundle and a ruined coat were recovered. Justice came quietly as the bell tolled. Elm Street would sleep differently now. Please like and subscribe.